The orbital station was always busy on market day. Ships came from dozens of planets, bringing goods that could not be found anywhere else. Fruits that glowed in the dark, meat from animals that had 6 legs, spices that made your tongue feel like it was dancing. For 8-year-old, market day was the best day of the week. She walked beside her father, holding his hand as they moved through the crowded pathways. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past them. Some were tall and thin like walking sticks. Others were short and round like balls with legs. A few floated through the air without any legs at all. Had lived on this station her whole life, so none of this seemed strange to her. "Stay close," said, squeezing her hand gently. "The market is very crowded today." "I know, Papa," replied. She looked at all the colorful stalls around her. "Can we get some of those blue berries, the ones that pop in your mouth?" Smiled down at her. "If you are good while I buy the vegetables, yes." Nodded quickly. She would be very good. Those berries were her favorite treat in the whole galaxy. They stopped at a vegetable stall run by a creature with 4 arms and green skin. Began talking to the seller about prices. Stood beside him, but she quickly became bored. The adults were talking about boring things like credits and freshness dates. Her eyes wandered to the narrow alley beside the stall. It was dark and filled with storage boxes. Most children would have been afraid of such a place, but was curious. She had always been curious about everything. She looked up at her father. He was still talking. He would not notice if she just took a small look. Let go of his hand slowly. She took one step toward the alley, then another. Then she slipped into the darkness between the tall boxes. The alley was not as scary as it looked from outside. Light came through gaps in the ceiling above. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Walked deeper, looking at the old boxes and broken equipment that had been left there. Then she heard it, a small sound, like a baby crying but different, higher, more like a whistle mixed with a whimper. Stopped walking. She listened carefully. The sound came again from behind a pile of boxes to her left. She moved slowly toward the sound. Her heart beat faster, but she was not afraid. She was too curious to be afraid. Behind the boxes, she found a creature unlike any she had seen before. It was small, about the size of a cat. Its body was covered in scales that should have been shiny but were now dull and dirty. It had 2 small wings pressed flat against its back. Its long tail was wrapped around its body, and its eyes, large and golden, looked up at with fear and pain. It was a dragon. Had seen pictures of dragons in her school lessons. They were supposed to be dangerous. They were supposed to be terrifying, but this one was just a baby and it was hurt. There was a wound on its front leg. The scales around it were dark with dried blood. The little dragon tried to move away from, but it was too weak. It made that crying sound again. "Oh no," whispered. She knelt down slowly so she would not scare it more. "You are hurt, poor thing." The dragon watched her with wide eyes. Its body shook with fear. Reached into her pocket. She always carried a snack bar with her. Her mother packed one for her every day. She pulled it out and unwrapped it slowly. "Are you hungry?" she asked softly. "This is really good. It has nuts and honey." She broke off a small piece and held it out toward the dragon. The creature stopped shaking. Its nose moved as it smelled the food. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then very slowly, the dragon stretched its neck forward. Its mouth opened just a little, and it took the piece of snack bar from its fingers. It chewed carefully, then swallowed. Smiled. "See, it is good, right?" She gave it another piece, and another. The dragon ate everything she offered. With each bite, it seemed to relax a little more. Its golden eyes never left its face, but the fear in them began to fade. "You are so little," said. "Where is your mother? Where is your family?" The dragon made a soft sound. It sounded sad. "Are you alone?" Felt her heart hurt for the little creature. "That is very sad. I do not like being alone either." She reached out her hand very slowly. The dragon watched her fingers come closer. It did not run. It did not try to bite. When its fingers touched the top of its head, it closed its eyes. The scales were warm under her touch, warmer than she expected. She petted the dragon gently, the way she petted the station cats that lived near her home. "I will help you," said, "I promise." She looked back toward the entrance of the alley. She could hear the noise of the market. Her father would be looking for her soon. He would be worried. But she could not leave this little dragon here. It was hurt and alone and scared. If she left it, it might die. Made a decision. She took off her jacket and wrapped it around the dragon carefully. The creature did not fight her. It seemed to understand that she was trying to help. It curled up in the jacket, its golden eyes looking up at her with something new in them. Trust. "I am going to take you home," told it. "My mother will know how to help you. She knows how to fix everything." She picked up the bundle carefully. The dragon was heavier than she expected, but she could carry it. She held it close to her chest so no one would see what she was carrying. Walked out of the alley. The market was still crowded. No one paid attention to a small human girl carrying what looked like a bundle of clothing. She found her father still at the vegetable stall. He turned when he saw her, relief on his face. "Where did you go? I told you to stay close." "I am sorry," Papa said. She held the bundle. "Can we go home now? I do not feel very well." Looked at her with concern. He put his hand on her forehead. "You do not have a fever. What is wrong?" "My stomach hurts," lied. She did not like lying to her father, but she could not tell him the truth here, not with so many people around. Nodded. "Okay, we will go home. The vegetables can wait." He took her hand and led her through the market toward their home, held the bundle with her other arm. Inside, she felt the dragon move slightly. It pressed its head against her chest, seeking warmth and comfort. Held it closer. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if her parents would let her keep the dragon. She did not even know if she could really help it. But she knew one thing for certain. She had made a promise and she would keep it. This little dragon was not alone anymore. The walk home felt longer than usual. Held the bundle close to her chest, feeling the warmth of the dragon through her jacket. Every few steps, the creature would move slightly and would hold it, hopping her father would not notice. Walked beside her, his hand on her shoulder. He kept looking down at her with worried eyes. "Are you sure you are okay? You look nervous." "I am fine," Papa said quickly, "just tired." Their home was a small apartment on the residential level of the station. It was not big, but it was comfortable. His mother had decorated every room with plants and pictures. She always said that living in space did not mean they had to live without beauty. When they reached the door, opened it and called inside. "We are home early, is not feeling well." Appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a cloth. She was a small woman with kind eyes and hair that she always kept in a neat bun. She looked at with concern. "What is wrong, little one?" she asked, kneeling down to look at her daughter's face. "Can I go to my room first?" asked. "I want to lie down." Touched her cheek. "Of course, I will bring you some tea." Hurried to her room and closed the door behind her. She went to her bed and carefully unwrapped the jacket. The dragon looked up at her, its golden eyes blinking in the light. "We are safe now," whispered. "This is my room. No one will hurt you here." The dragon made a soft chirping sound. It tried to stand up, but its injured leg would not hold its weight. It fell back down with a sad whimper. "Your leg is really bad," said, looking at the wound. The dried blood had turned almost black. "You need medicine." She knew she had to tell her mother. Worked as a medical assistant at the station clinic. She helped doctors treat all kinds of aliens. If anyone could help this dragon, it was her. But what if her mother was scared? What if she called the authorities? Had learned in school that dragons were considered dangerous. The Galactic Council had rules about them. They were not supposed to be kept as pets or brought into populated areas. The door to her room opened. Quickly tried to cover the dragon with her jacket, but she was too slow. stood in the doorway, a cup of tea in her hand. Her eyes went wide when she saw the creature on its bed. The cup fell from her fingers and shattered on the floor. She breathed, "What is that?" "Mama, please do not be scared," said quickly. She stood between her mother and the dragon. "It is hurt. I found it in the market. It was all alone and scared, and I could not leave it there." Stared at the dragon. The dragon stared back at her. Neither of them moved. "That is a dragon," said slowly. "A real dragon." "Yes, Mama, but it is just a baby. Look how small it is, and it is hurt. Please, can you help it?" For a long moment did not speak. Felt her heart beating fast. She was sure her mother would say no. She was sure they would have to give the dragon to the authorities. Then did something unexpected. She took a deep breath, stepped over the broken cup, and walked to the bed. She knelt down and looked at the dragon closely. "The wound is infected," she said in her calm medical voice. "It needs to be cleaned and treated soon, or it will get worse." "Can you fix it?" asked hopefully. Looked at her daughter. Her eyes were serious but not angry. "I can try, but do you understand how dangerous this is? Dragons are not like the station cats. They are powerful creatures. Many species in the galaxy fear them." "But this one is not dangerous," said. "Look at it, Mama. It is scared and hurt. It needs help." As if understanding their words, the dragon made a soft sound. It stretched its neck toward and touched her hand with its nose. The gesture was gentle, almost like a request. Something changed in its face. The worry softened into something else. Compassion, perhaps understanding. "Okay," she said quietly. "I will help it, but we need to be very careful. No one can know about this. Do you understand?" Nodded quickly. "I understand, Mama, thank you." Stood up. "Stay here with it. I will get my medical supplies." She left the room and sat on the bed beside the dragon. She stroked its head gently. "See, I told you my mother could fix everything." The dragon closed its eyes and leaned into her touch. When returned, she had a large bag filled with medical tools and bottles. Followed behind her, his face showing shock when he saw the dragon. "What have you done?" he asked, his voice higher than usual. "Papa, please," said. "It needed help." Looked at his wife. "We cannot keep this. Do you know what could happen if someone finds out?" Was already opening her bag. She did not look up. "I know exactly what could happen, but I also know what will happen if we turn this creature over to the authorities. They will kill it. It is just a child." Opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. He looked at the dragon, really looked at it for the first time. Its golden eyes watched him, filled with pain and fear, but also with something like hope. "Fine," he said finally, "but just until it is healed. Then we find a way to return it to its own kind." Nodded and began to work on the wound. She cleaned it carefully with special solutions that fizzed and bubbled. The dragon whimpered but did not try to bite or scratch. It seemed to understand that she was helping. "Good little one," murmured as she worked. "You are being so brave." Watched her mother work. She held the dragon's front paw, the one that was not hurt, and whispered comforting words. After an hour, finally sat back. The wound was clean and covered with a special bandage that would help it heal. She had also given the dragon some medicine that would fight the infection. "It should recover," said. "Dragons are strong creatures, but it will need food and rest." "What do dragons eat?" asked. "Meat mostly, and they need a lot of it. Growing dragons eat almost twice their body weight every day." Groaned, "Our food budget is going to suffer." But despite his complaint, he left the room and returned a few minutes later with a plate of cooked meat from the kitchen. He set it down in front of the dragon. The creature sniffed the food, then began to eat quickly. It was clearly very hungry. In minutes, the plate was empty. "It needs a name," said. "We cannot just call it dragon." "You are already naming it," shook his head. "When you name something, you become attached to it." "I am already attached to it," replied simply. She looked at the dragon, thinking. It had scales that looked like they could be silver when they were clean and healthy. Its eyes were bright gold like the morning sun. It was beautiful, even though it was hurt and dirty. Decided, her name is. How do you know it is a girl? Asked with a small smile. I just know, said confidently. The dragon, now named, looked up at the sound of her new name. Her tail moved slightly, almost like a wag. That night refused to sleep in her bed. She made a small nest of blankets on the floor beside where lay. Her parents tried to convince her to sleep properly, but she would not listen. Might be scared alone, she explained. I will stay with her. And looked at each other. There was worry in their eyes, but also something like pride. Their daughter had a kind heart, even if that kindness might bring them trouble. One night said, tomorrow we talk about what to do next. Agreed and settled into her blanket nest, crawled closer to her, pressing her warm body against side. The dragon made a soft sound, almost like purring. Good night, whispered. Tomorrow you will feel better, I promise. Closed her golden eyes. For the first time since found her, the little dragon looked peaceful. In the darkness of the room, smiled. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. She did not know how long they could keep hidden. But right now, in this moment, everything felt right. She had found something special, something that needed her, and she would do everything she could to protect it. 3 days passed, grew stronger with each meal prepared for her. The wound on her leg was healing well, and her scales had begun to shine again. What was once dull and dirty now sparkled like silver coins in the light. Spent every moment she could with. Before school, she would feed her breakfast. After school, she would play with her. At night, she still slept on the floor beside her dragon friend. The two had become inseparable. Also seemed to be growing quickly. She was already bigger than when first found her. Said this was normal for dragons. They grew fast when they were young. We will need a bigger space soon, mentioned one evening. She cannot stay in this room forever. Nodded. He had become used to having a dragon in their home. He even smiled sometimes when played with her tail, spinning in circles trying to catch it. We need to think about the future. Where did she come from? Where is her family? No one had an answer to that question. The answer came on the 4th day, in the worst possible way. Was at school when it happened. She was sitting in her classroom, only half listening to her teacher talk about the history of space travel. Her mind was on, as it always was now. She wondered what her dragon friend was doing at home. Then the classroom screen lit up with an emergency broadcast. The teacher stopped talking. All the students turned to look. A stern face appeared on the screen. It belonged to a creature with blue skin and 3 eyes, wearing the uniform of the Galactic Authority. The symbol on his chest showed he was a high-ranking officer. Citizens of Station Cora, the officer said, we are issuing an urgent alert. A dragon hatchling has gone missing from the Draconian Empire. This hatchling is of extreme importance. It is the only child of the Dragon Queen herself. Felt her heart stop beating. The screen showed a picture. It was the same silver scale, the same golden eyes, there was no doubt. The hatchling was taken from the royal nursery 7 days ago, the officer continued. We believe the kidnappers brought it to this sector of space. Anyone with information about the hatchling's location must report to the authorities immediately. There is a large reward for information. The picture changed to show several rough-looking aliens. These are the suspected kidnappers. They are dangerous criminals wanted across 12 systems. If you see them, do not approach. Contact the authorities at once. Additionally, the officer said, and his voice became harder, anyone found hiding the hatchling will face severe punishment. The Dragon Queen has made it clear that she wants her child returned. She has sent hunters to assist in the search. The broadcast ended. The classroom was silent, sat frozen in her seat, her mind racing. Was a princess, a royal heir, the only child of the Dragon Queen. and had been keeping her hidden in their apartment. She raised her hand. "Teacher, I do not feel well. May I go home?" The teacher looked at her pale face and nodded. "Yes, go to the clinic first to make sure you are okay." Did not go to the clinic. She ran straight home. When she burst through the door, she found her parents already watching the news. The same broadcast was playing on their home screen, and turned to look at her with worried faces. "You saw it," said. "It was not a question." Nodded, she could not speak. "We need to turn her in," continued. His voice was heavy. "This is too big. If the authorities find out we have been hiding her, we could all go to prison, or worse." "No," finally found her voice. "We cannot turn her in. You saw those hunters they talked about. They might hurt her." "She is a royal," said gently. "Her mother is the Dragon Queen. She belongs with her own kind." "But those kidnappers took her from her home. They hurt her. What if the hunters are just as bad? What if they work for the kidnappers?" Words hung in the air. Her parents looked at each other. The truth was, they did not know who to trust either. "The Dragon Queen wants her child back," said slowly. "That does not sound like someone who would hurt her." "Then why did run away from the kidnappers?" asked. "Why was she hiding in that alley, all alone and scared? If she was just stolen property, why did she not go to the authorities herself?" Again, no one had an answer. A soft sound came from his room. They all turned to see standing in the doorway. She had grown enough now that she was almost as big as a medium dog. Her wings, still too small to fly with, were folded against her back. Her golden eyes moved from face to face. Then slowly, she walked to and pressed her head against the girl's leg. "She trusts us," said, her voice breaking. "She trusts me. I cannot betray that trust, Papa, I cannot." Closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was something new in them. Decision. "Okay," he said. "We will not turn her in. Not yet. But we need more information. We need to know what really happened before we can decide what to do." Nodded. "I can access some of the medical databases at the clinic. Dragons have unique biology. If was hurt in a specific way, the records might tell us something about who hurt her." "I will ask around the docks," said. "Carefully. The workers there hear things. Maybe someone knows something about these kidnappers." "What can I do?" asked. Her father knelt down to look her in the eyes. "You have the most important job. Keep safe. Keep her hidden. Do not let anyone see her no matter what. Can you do that?" Nodded firmly. "I can do that." Over the next 2 days, the station changed. There were more security officers in the corridors. Strange ships arrived at the docking ports. Rough-looking aliens walked through the market, asking questions and showing pictures. The hunters had arrived. Stayed home from school, pretending to be sick. She spent all her time with, keeping the windows covered and the doors locked. They played quiet games together, read stories to her, even though she did not know if understood the words. Seemed to sense the danger. She was quieter than before. She did not chase her tail or make playful sounds. Instead, she stayed close to, always watching, always listening. "I will not let them take you," whispered to her one night. "I promise." Made a soft sound and pressed closer to her. On the 3rd day after the broadcast, came home with news. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. "They know," he said. "Someone at the docks saw me asking questions. They told the hunters. They are coming here tonight." Grabbed his arm. "Are you sure?" "I overheard them talking. They said a human family has been acting suspicious. They are going to search every human home on this level." "Then we run," said immediately. "We take and we leave the station." "How? They are watching all the docking ports. We cannot get to our ship." "There has to be another way," said. She was scared, more scared than she had ever been, but she would not give up. "There has to be." Suddenly stood up. Her head turned toward the door, her golden eyes alert. A low sound came from her throat, not quite a growl, but close. Someone was coming. The family froze. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside, heavy footsteps, multiple sets of them. Then a loud knock on the door. "Open up, Galactic Authority. We have a warrant to search this residence." Looked at his wife and daughter, his jaw tightened. "Hide in the storage closet," he whispered. "I will delay them as long as I can." Grabbed and pulled her toward the closet. The dragon went willingly, as if she understood exactly what was happening. They climbed inside among the boxes and old clothes and pulled the door closed, leaving only a tiny crack to see through. In the darkness of the closet held close, she could feel the dragon's heart beating fast, or maybe that was her own heart. She could not tell anymore. Outside, she heard the front door open, heard rough voices demanding to search, heard her father's calm voice trying to reason with them. Then she heard something that made her blood turn cold. "We know you have the hatchling. Give it to us now, and no one has to get hurt." The hunters had found them. Through the crack in the closet door, could see shadows moving in the living room. The hunters had pushed their way inside. There were 3 of them, all large and threatening. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that glowed with a dangerous light. Their leader was the biggest. He had gray skin covered in scars and teeth that looked like they could bite through metal. His eyes were small and cruel as they scanned the room. "Where is the dragon?" he demanded. "We tracked it to this building, to this floor, to this apartment. Do not waste our time with lies." Stood between the hunters and the rest of the apartment. He looked small compared to them, just an ordinary human man in ordinary clothes, but his voice did not shake when he spoke. "You are making a mistake. There is no dragon here, just my family." The leader laughed. It was not a nice sound. Humans, always so stubborn, always thinking they can stand against beings far more powerful than themselves. He stepped closer to search the place, find the hatchling. 2 of the hunters began moving through the apartment. They knocked over furniture. They threw things off shelves, pressed herself against the wall, watching with terrified eyes as they destroyed her beautiful home. One of the hunters came toward the closet where was hiding. Held, the dragon was completely still, barely breathing. Her golden eyes caught the light from the crack in the door. Just a little closer and the hunter would see them. Then moved. She stepped in front of the closet, blocking the hunter's path. "Please," she said, her voice high with fear. "That is just our storage closet, old clothes and boxes. There is nothing there." The hunter looked at her with no expression. "Move." "Please, you have already searched the bedrooms and the kitchen. There is nowhere a dragon could hide. Can you not see that we are telling the truth?" For a moment the hunter hesitated. Then he shoved aside roughly. She fell against the wall with a cry of pain. "Mama," almost burst out of the closet. Only weight against her chest stopped her. She bit her lip so hard she tasted blood. The hunter reached for the closet door. And then everything happened at once. Moved faster than had ever seen him move. He grabbed a heavy lamp from a nearby table and swung it at the hunter's head. The impact made a terrible sound. The hunter stumbled sideways, stunned. "Run!" shouted. "Get and run!" The other 2 hunters rushed at. He tried to fight them, tried to buy time, but he was just one human against 2 trained fighters. They knocked the lamp from his hands and threw him to the ground. Pulled open the closet door. Her face was wild with fear and determination. "Come on, now!" Stumbled out of the closet, still holding. The dragon clung to her, claws digging into her shirt. They ran for the back door, the one that led to the emergency corridor. Reached it first and threw it open. But there was a hunter waiting there too, a 4th one blocking their escape. He grabbed her arm and threw her back into the apartment. She crashed into and they both fell to the floor, tumbled from his arms. "No more running," the leader said. He stood over them, his face twisted with satisfaction. "No more games. Give us the dragon now, or we will take it from your dead bodies." Scrambled to her feet and stood over. Her whole body was shaking, but she spread her arms wide, trying to protect her friend. "You cannot have her," she said. Her voice was small but fierce. "She is not yours to take." The leader looked at her with something like curiosity. "You, a tiny human child, you think you can stop us?" "I will try." The leader laughed again, longer this time. "This is the most entertaining thing I have seen in years. A human child protecting a dragon." He looked at his fellow hunters. "Are you seeing this? The humans have become dragon protectors." The other hunters laughed too, cruel, mocking laughter. But then the leader's face became serious. He stepped toward, his hand reaching for his weapon. "Enough games. Move aside, child, or I will move you myself." "No." The word did not come from. It came from behind the leader. Was back on his feet. His face was bloody from the beating he had taken, but his eyes burned with something powerful. He held a piece of broken furniture in his hands like a weapon. "You will not touch my daughter," he said, "or the dragon she has promised to protect." The leader turned to face him. "You are already beaten, human. What do you think you can do?" "Whatever I have to." Rose too. She picked up a heavy cooking pot from the floor where it had fallen. "I am with my husband." "And I am with my parents," said. The three humans stood together, facing four armed hunters. It should have been hopeless. It should have been suicide. The hunters were bigger, stronger, better armed. They had fought across dozens of worlds. What chance did one human family have against them? But something strange happened. The hunters did not attack. They looked at this small family, standing together, willing to die for a dragon child they had only known for a few days. They looked at the determination in their eyes, the love that connected them, the absolute refusal to surrender. And for the first time, the hunters seemed uncertain. "This is not right," one of them muttered. "They are just humans. Why are they fighting so hard?" "For a dragon," another added. "A dragon that is not even their own species. It makes no sense." The leader's eyes narrowed. He studied the family, trying to understand them. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why do you risk your lives for this creature? It is not yours, it is not your kind. Why do you care what happens to it?" It was who answered. She looked up at the scary hunter with her young, brave eyes. "Because she was alone and hurt and scared," she said simply. "Because she needed help. Because when someone needs help, you help them. That is what humans do." The leader stared at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his face. The cruelty faded, replaced by something harder to read. Then a new voice spoke from the doorway. "That is enough." Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was a figure that took breath away. She was tall, taller than any being had ever seen. Her scales were like liquid silver, catching the light and throwing it back in 1,000 colors. Her wings, folded against her back, still seemed to fill the room with their presence. Her eyes were golden, the same gold as, but ancient and deep and filled with terrible power. The Dragon Queen had arrived. The hunters immediately dropped to their knees, bowing their heads. Even the leader, who had seemed so fearless before, trembled in her presence. "My queen," he said, "we found the hatchling. We were about to retrieve it for you." The queen walked into the room. Her steps made no sound. Her gaze swept over the scene, taking in the destruction, the injured humans, the hunters on their knees. Finally, her eyes found. The little dragon made a sound, a cry of recognition. She ran across the room and pressed herself against the queen's leg, making the same soft sound she made when she was happy with. The queen lowered her great head and touched gently with her snout, a mother's touch, a reunion. Then she raised her head and looked at the human family. "You protected my child," she said. Her voice was like music and thunder combined. "You risked your lives for her. Why?" Stepped forward. She was still scared, but she was also tired of being scared. "Because she needed us," she said. "Because she trusted us. Because that is what you do when someone trusts you." The queen studied her for a long moment. Felt like those golden eyes could see straight through her, seeing every thought, every memory, every part of her soul. Then the queen smiled. It was a strange expression on a dragon's face, but somehow it looked natural. "Yes," she said softly, "that is exactly what you do." She turned to the hunters and her smile vanished. "Leave this place. Leave this station. If I ever see you again, I will destroy you." The hunters fled without a word. The queen turned back to the family. "I have searched for my daughter across half the galaxy. I feared the worst. I thought I would never see her again." Her voice broke slightly. "And then I find her here with a human family who loves her as much as I do." "You are her mother," said. "You can take her home now. She belongs with you." "Yes," the queen agreed. "She belongs with me." She looked at, "but she also belongs with the humans who saved her life, who gave her love when she had nothing, who fought for her when they had no hope of winning." Felt tears running down her face. She did not try to stop them. The queen had come to take home. This was the end. But as she would soon learn, it was actually just the beginning. The apartment was quiet now. The hunters were gone. The broken furniture and scattered belongings remained as evidence of the battle that had been fought here, but the danger had passed. The dragon queen stood in the middle of the room, her silver scales making everything around her look dull and ordinary. Sat at her feet, pressing against her mother's leg, but her golden eyes kept looking back at. Sat on the damaged couch, holding a cloth to the cut on his forehead. Stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder. They both watched the queen with a mixture of awe and exhaustion. Had not moved from where she stood. Tears still ran down her face, but she did not wipe them away. She just looked at, trying to memorize every detail of the little dragon she had come to love. "The kidnappers who took my daughter," the queen said, breaking the silence. "They wanted to ransom her back to me for a fortune. When their ship had problems and crashed on this station, she managed to escape from them. She hid in that alley where your daughter found her. She was so scared when I found her," said softly, "and hurt and hungry." "Yes," the queen's voice was gentle, "and in her moment of greatest fear, a human child offered her kindness, offered her food from her own hand, offered her love without asking for anything in return." The queen moved closer too. Despite her great size, her movements were graceful and careful. She lowered her head until her golden eyes were level with his. "Do you know what dragons value most, young one?" Shook her head. "Loyalty," the queen said, "and courage, and love that asks for nothing back. Your people, humans, are considered young and weak by most species in the galaxy. Many see you as nothing more than clever animals who learn to build ships." Tensed at those words, but the queen continued. "But what I have seen today has changed my understanding. I have seen a father fight against impossible odds to protect his child. I have seen a mother stand between danger and her family without hesitation. And I have seen a little girl, young and small and powerless, stand against warriors who could have killed her with a single blow, all for the sake of a dragon child who was not even her own kind." The queen straightened to her full height. Her wings spread slightly, filling the room with their presence. "The Draconian Empire has lived apart from the rest of the galaxy for 10,000 years. We have kept to ourselves, trusted no one outside our own kind. We thought that was the safest way. The way." She looked at the human family, her ancient eyes seeing something new. "We were wrong." Made a soft sound. She ran from her mother's side and pressed against his leg. The little dragon looked up at the girl who had saved her life, and in her golden eyes was a question. "Has bonded with you," the queen said. "A dragon bond is a sacred thing. It cannot be forced. It cannot be broken. It simply is." "What does that mean?" asked, her voice trembling. "It means that my daughter's heart has chosen you as her companion, her protector, her family." The queen paused. "It means that if you are willing, you will always be part of her life, and she will always be part of yours." Tears came faster now, but they were no longer tears of sadness. Really, I can still see her. More than that, the queen turned to and, I offer your family something that has never been offered to humans before. I offer you a place in the Draconian Empire, a home on our world, a position of honor as the family that saved the royal heir. And looked at each other. This was beyond anything they could have imagined. We are just ordinary people, said. We run a small business. We live in a small apartment. What could we possibly offer the Dragon Empire? You offer something we have forgotten, the queen replied. You offer the simple courage to help those in need, regardless of risk. You offer the kind of love that crosses the boundaries of species and origin. You offer humanity. She smiled again, that strange dragon smile that somehow looked perfectly natural. And there is something else. The galaxy is changing. Old alliances are failing. New threats are rising. The dragons cannot remain isolated forever. We need friends. We need allies. And we need someone to teach us how to trust again. You want us to be ambassadors? Asked, surprised. I want you to be family, the queen corrected. The official title can be whatever you prefer, but what matters is the truth beneath the title. My daughter loves your daughter. That bond is unbreakable. Therefore, your family and my family are now one. Knelt down and hugged tightly. The dragon wrapped her tail around the girl and made that purring sound that meant she was happy. I told you I would not let anyone take you away, whispered. I told you I would always be your friend. Nuzzled against her cheek, her warm scales soft against the skin. The queen watched them for a moment, then turned to and, you do not have to decide immediately. I know this is a great change. I know it is frightening. Take time to think about it. Looked at his daughter holding the dragon. He looked at his wife. He looked at the damaged apartment that had been their home. Then he looked at the queen. I do not need time, he said. Where my daughter goes, we go. If she is bonded with, then is family, and family stays together. Nodded, tears in her own eyes. Our home is not these walls. Our home is each other. If our home now includes a dragon princess, then so be it. The queen inclined her head in a gesture of respect. Then welcome to the Draconian family. You will have places of honor in our court. Your daughter will be raised alongside mine, as sisters of the heart if not of blood. Sisters, said, testing the word. She looked at, you are going to be my sister. Made a happy sound and flapped her small wings. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. News of the Dragon Queen's alliance with a human family spread across the galaxy. Many were shocked. Some were angry, but most were simply curious. How had a little human girl won the heart of a dragon? The answer was simpler than anyone expected. She had offered kindness when kindness was needed. She had offered love when love was needed. She had stood up for someone who could not stand up for themselves. That was all. That was everything. And her family moved to the dragon. It was a place of mountains and valleys, of ancient forests and rivers that sparkled like gold. Dragons of all colors flew through the skies. It was beautiful and strange and wonderful. Grew quickly in the years that followed. Her wings became strong enough to carry her through the clouds. Her scales shone like pure silver in the sunlight. She became wise and powerful, as all dragons do. But she never forgot the little human girl who had found her in a dark alley and offered her a piece of snack bar. And never forgot the scared little dragon who had taught her that kindness has no boundaries, that love needs no reason, that family is not about blood or species, but about the bonds we choose to make. On market days, still walked through crowded stalls, looking at goods from across the galaxy. But now she walked with a dragon by her side. Now she was not just an ordinary human girl. She was a sister to dragons, a daughter of two worlds, a bridge between species that had never trusted each other before. All because one day, while gathering groceries, she had found a dragon child in need of care. And she had chosen to help. That single choice changed the galaxy forever, not through war or politics or power, but through the simplest and most powerful thing in the universe: love. The end.